Hey, welcome to Gong Jiao Wei, episode 6. Hey, what are we talking about today?
I don't know, Sia. Today, don't know what to talk about. Let's look at what's going on around the world.
Talk about the news.
The news? What's on the news? Oh my God! Look at what's happening.
People dying.
People rioting.
People
this looks like every day. Yeah, this looks like everyday shit going on Earth, man.
Yeah. So is it just me, or is the world getting crazy?
Hey, but speaking of, is it just me or is the world getting a little bit crazy? It's like I've seen some of the videos. It's like scenes out of the Joker movie, man. Like there's this scene of not this scene here. I use the word scene because it looks like a fucking scene. But there was this video I saw of like a cop car like just driving by, and then it had like shit like graffiti all over it. Like it looked like the ending scene of the Joker.
Right.
Where
someone posted on, I think it was Instagram. I saw a post. It is that ending scene where the Joker just came out of the car crash.
Okay.
And he had just regained consciousness.
Right.
Drew that
smile
with his blood.
Yeah, the bloody.
And
smile.
The caption was like, everybody wanted this to happen, but look at what happens now when it's the black people doing it. Like, okay.
Shit, made it about race right now.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
But what's happening right now. What's going on exactly? There was a pretty funny SNL sketch I remember watching. It's like it's a news team, and then they are like competing which race fucks up the most that day. So like the first report comes in, today there was a shooting and involved a black man, and then and then after that the news team start looking at each other, and then they're keeping score. And then after that, like the next news come in. Today we have an incident happening with a crocodile, and then after that, like the black people relax, because crocodiles and most likely, white people dealing with that shit, right? And then the whole sketch goes on and on and on until it reaches the final count, and then they're both tied, and then the news comes in, and then there's like, today there was a man dressed up as the Joker, and then the black people start celebrating because the only people that do that shit is apparently white people.
That do what shit?
Dress up as Joker and murder people.
Yeah, so
besides the point.
Yeah, besides the point. But okay, so I guess the hot topic now is the whole Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Like, okay, it's everywhere.
I mean, it's kind of resurfaced because it was already around, right? To begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
When Trump was first elected, and all the Tiki Touch motherfuckers came out.
And I mean, even before that also, right? When there were there was this other
police
incident
brutality cases.
Of the police brutality case.
That was it was a couple, right? And I think the girl was in the car.
Yeah.
And they were frisking the boyfriend outside.
Right.
And she was like pleading for them to like, hey, just let it go. Like he's not harmful. He's like of no threat. And he's like totally fine until they like shot him in cold blood.
Yeah.
Right? That was the case, right?
That was the case, yeah.
Okay.
And I think I saw one also before that where this dude, he's in his car and they shot him in his car.
Okay.
Like he reaches for his glove box because they asked for his fucking driver's license, and then you see like the cop just fucking panic when he reached for the glove box after asking him for his goddamn license. And the dude just pulls out his weapon, like points it at him, and then the guy's like, I'm reaching for my license. I do not have a fire. And then pop. That's it. Shot him. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. What the fuck, man?
I mean, this shit is constantly happening, right? It goes back all the way to like the Rodney King beatings. Right? Remember that?
I do not later, remember that.
I also don't know.
I am not born yet.
Yeah, we definitely don't remember that. But I guess it escalated or kind of started from that. And yeah, it's just like it's not getting any better, right? There's still this violence. Do you know what the statistic is for like black males in US?
No
Right.
idea.
You're 21 times more likely to be killed by a police officer compared to any other race as a young black man.
Yo, that's why the first thing you do is run, man.
That's why. Like, what the fuck?
Just guilty or not, you just fucking run.
Get the fuck out of there, because there's a chance that you're gonna get shot, man.
Yep. So yeah, like that. Okay, like that show, Man Like Mobeen.
Ah, yeah.
His what's his friend's name? Moment he hears siren only, he just fucking run.
Yeah, he fucking panics.
Get the fuck out of there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but you know, it's obviously a systemic issue. You know, if that hasn't already been established by now, lah.
Yeah.
So.
But all lives matter, what?
Yeah, that's gonna piss.
Did I just dig myself a grave?
Yeah, you did, man. They're gonna all come after you.
Do you want to clarify what is the difference? What
between all lives?
What does saying all lives matter mean, and what does it entail?
Yeah, okay. So you see, it's like the way they look at it, or the way they rationalize. I mean, of course, all lives are important. It's true, but the point is, not all lives are being, you know, treated that way. The point is, it's the blacks, right? They have the 21% or 21 times more likelihood to be shot by a goddamn cop, right? As opposed to everybody else. So, you know, by coming and talking about all lives matter, right? Anybody who comes forth with that mentality, right? You kind of nullify the whole point of this movement,
taking away
which
from
is
the argument that the system is biased against them.
Exactly. Yeah, and so like if you come forth and say, oh, you know, this Black Lives Movement, but don't all lives matter?
Right.
Yeah, sure, but you're not the one fucking dealing with this shit.
So could you say that, you know, anybody who says that, who comes from that viewpoint and you know, argues their way out and say, you know, like, I get it, Black Lives Matter, but don't all lives matter? They just don't get it.
But okay, the thing is, it's not just about not getting it, right? Oh, you mean the people who are saying all lives matter don't get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's just so ingrained in them.
It's probably because they haven't empathized. They just, I mean, how do you feel that fear, you know, where you're walking out and you hear sirens and the immediate thing, you know, that goes through your mind, am I gonna die? Right? Who the fuck faces that kind of, you know, and none of us in Singapore face that issue either. Right? We don't have that kind of problem with the police. Yeah, we're damn lucky. Right? Yeah. And I'm damn lucky. I feel damn lucky because I am dark skinned. Right? And can you imagine if I had to deal with that kind of fear? Right? Every time I see the police, I don't know if I'm gonna get shot or die. Right? To live with that kind of to live with that kind of thing breathing down your neck, it's beyond fucked up. And so you get morons in society, right? Or, you know, people that don't take a step back, I guess, to empathize and to realize like how bad they have it there and how bad they have to deal with it. And I think there are two incidents that highlighted this to me. You know, one is the ex-Malaysian Miss World. Right? Do you see that article? Right? What's her name?
Let me see.
James. That's a man's name. No lah, it's Samantha Katie James. So yeah, she fucking comes on and says like,
to the black people, relax. Take it as a challenge. Makes you stronger. You choose to be born as a colored person in America for a reason, to learn a certain lesson. Accept it as it is. Till now, hunger and poverty still exist. It is what it is. It's inevitable. Best you can do is remain calm, protect heart. Don't allow it to crumble. That's your responsibility.
What?
Guys, I think I just got cancer.
Yeah, man. This shit is deleting my brain cells. Like, okay, first of all, this choice thing. What the fuck does that even mean?
How do I explain?
I don't know,
how
man.
do I explain?
Okay, so
sorry,
in her
stupid
defense,
Nokia one.
yeah, man.
No matter how I explain, like cannot.
That's why she says our souls chose this life. Sounds so fucking beautiful. You should have chosen a better soul, like bitch. Okay, but yeah, point is like, what? So what? If what the fuck do you even mean your souls chose this life? Oh, okay, never mind. I'm not even gonna dissect the bullshit that is coming out of her mouth. And then with the caption there, I don't live in America. It has nothing to do with me, but to me, it seems like the whites won. Because if you're angry, you respond in rage and anguish. That means it has power over you. They have power over you. And then she puts the caption, "Foolish humans." Oh, help me, please. Oh my God.
I'm just trying to understand where she's coming from.
like how you need to stroke your ego that much to come out and attack people like that, call them foolish and all when they are responding in anger, and it's ridiculous, man. It's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it's easy for her to say being
because
easy for us to say because we are so removed from
all of this
the situation. It's like we have the privilege of observing this situation from afar. But if you are knee deep or fucking like whole body deep in this matter, first off, you're just trying to protect yourself. You're basically trying to survive and not get shot along the way or have to worry about your mom, dad, brother, sister getting shot, your kids, your wife, your husband getting shot. Like that's the mode you're operating at. So, dude, anger is of course warranted, lah.
Okay, I get how some people get caught up with the whole rioting, but honestly, I think it's acceptable, right?
What, the looting?
The looting, the rioting, all of it is fucking acceptable. I'll tell you why. And Trevor Noah mentioned this also. So like looting and all that, it's horrifying. I saw this video on Instagram of this black man who owns a store that just got looted. That people were throwing shit everywhere. They were trashing cars, and so he just comes out onto the streets and then he's just screaming at everyone, right? And then he's like, "I'm from the ghetto too. I came from the ground up as well, right? You angry with the white people? Why you burn down my store? Right? Why you burn down my truck?" And he's crying and he's just shouting and he's so fucking sad that all of this is happening.
So how is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's fucked up, right? Okay. On that individual level, right? For somebody to have to deal with that from the same community, right? It's just adding to the pain of whatever's going on. So I get that. That's fucked up, right? But okay, let's look at it from the populace, the general populace, and their perspective. And keep in mind that Corona is also going down, right? This whole COVID shit, with the lockdowns, people are okay. There are people that are fucking poor, right? There are people who have nothing already. Okay, so and then on top of this, right, this shit goes down, right? And so you're looking at a situation where it's like, fuck it, let's burn it all, right? Because you see, the thing is, right, if you come up with the argument that society, that's not how you should behave in society. Responding to this situation is not how society functions, right? But who gives a fuck about society at this point, right? You enter a contract into society and you have people, the unspoken agreements, right? Yeah, that there are leaders that will listen to you, that will take care of you. Exactly. Right. And on top of that, people that serve this interest, right? The police, the military, right? They're there to take care of us. They're there to protect us. But when all these things flip on you, right? So now COVID comes down and people are poor as shit, right? As it is, they can't find basic income, right? Because of what's
government's
going down.
Not putting in the correct measures to prevent the spread.
Exactly. So your first contract already there, and then people hold on to that. Right. And then you don't see any looting. You don't see any rioting. they still go on, right? Because they still want to uphold what everyone else has agreed to in this society, right? That contract.
Right.
And then now this shit happens, right? Where you have a policeman kneeling on a dude's neck and just, killing him in front of camera with the pleas of the man and the people around him all ignored, right? And then you just watch this go down like that. So now on top of that, right, you have the people that are meant to serve and protect you, right? They're killing you.
Yep.
So like it's another aspect of that contract broken. So how do you respond to that? You're like, fuck it right? Why even bother upholding anything there is to uphold anymore?
Right.
Just go out, rob, get whatever the fuck you want, right? Just destroy whatever you want because it's all gone to shit anyway. It's an emotional response, no doubt.
Yeah.
But how not to avoid that emotional response? Which is why I'm saying like, yeah.
We at the end of the day, we are still emotional beings.
Yeah.
It is that system in us to
exactly
propel us into taking action. And
especially
like it or not,
when you're...
this is the result of all the things that's happened, or them being on the receiving end of all these things.
Yeah, and they just, they're at their wits' end, about it. And so, yeah, fuck it. Let society burn. Burn the contract.
Let's go burn some shit now.
Well, we're well taken care of.
Yeah, we are.
I mean,
we are.
We are
a lucky bunch.
Yeah, I love Singapore for that, man. I mean, we don't have to deal with this kind of shit, man. Right?
Yeah.
I don't feel fear when I see police officers. Right?
Yeah.
Actually, I only feel fear when I see the MRT guys. The MRT police.
What MRT guys? So
they always take my IC and check. Yeah. They always take my IC and check. Oh, so it's a random check.
Right. Random.
Random can occur like 3 times in every year. Fucking lucky, bro.
No, like you are the random guy we picked out of all the dark skin guys.
Yeah, that's why. Statistically speaking.
Yeah. The
not good odds
different.
For me.
Being different.
The sample size, yeah.
Yeah, the sample size is lighter skin one, but not in the sample one.
Definitely. We definitely have some issues of our own about race and all that,
But
yeah.
It doesn't occur at the same scale.
Yeah, frequency and just that scale, man. It's disgusting. We don't get, people murdered here like that, by people that are supposed to protect you. That's a nightmare to deal with. So yeah, I mean, coming from that, I'm not saying that rioting and looting is the way to go. It is the right thing to do. But
it's the only way.
Yeah, right. It's like the appropriate response to them in that situation, right? How else do you do it? I mean, when you think about it, when atrocities happen to a race of people, what they hire lawyers and then write letters to the powers that be.
Aggressive letter writing.
Yeah. Why? Whenever a fucking atrocity happens across the world, people lash out in violence because it's violence that that they were met with, and that's how we function.
Newton's third law.
Yep, exactly. It's also our biological nature, right? We are primates, right? Yes. We beat chests and stomp ground and occupy territory, right? It's just how we as animals function. It's just that we're higher functioning, right? Yeah. Supposedly than the other animals. Although sometimes you question that as well.
Yes. Basically the same thing.
Yeah, it is. I think so. I think that one we can address in another episode. Okay, so talking about race and Black Lives Matter and all that, I think it's a good time to explore racism, right? The idea of racism and how it happens on a different level. So, if you go
to start racial riot in Singapore, but
this is
another episode.
That one was the previous episode, right?
Yeah.
Was it how to start racial riot in Singapore? Yeah. So this one is different. Okay, but we're gonna go back to the topic of race again because the last time we discussed about what's happening here, foreign workers and things like that, the way we are seeing race, and there are obviously problems to it as well, right? We're going to see why that's the case, or at least I'm going to try and explain why that's the case. And I'm going to refer a lot to this book written by Falguni Sheth, a professor at Emory College of the Arts and Science. She's the associate professor in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies. She wrote this really brilliant book, and this book changed the way I perceive racism, or it gave me a new level to think about racism, essentially. And so in Falguni Sheth's book called Toward a Political Philosophy of Race, she argues that you can't just look at race by the textbook definition, that if you hate a person by skin color, then yeah, that's racism. You know, you judge people by their outward appearances. So that's a very simplified look at race. So the way she wants us to look at racism is as a technological tool, and how it has evolved through not only social but political fields. Basically, if you look at it from a biological perspective or a social construct, you know, you don't really understand why racism exists, right? You just know it's there, like, oh, people different skin color, then we don't really feel comfortable or some shit like that, right? We don't really go deeper into why this actually happens. So she believes that race functions as a technological tool used by those in power for the sake of controlling those who are a threat to their power by pushing them as far as possible away from the majority of society. Yeah. Okay, so to understand this better, right, we're going to get into it, obviously. You have to ask yourself 3 questions, or you have to focus on 3 questions: the who, the why, and the how, right? So the who goes into who is the one that establishes this racism. The why goes into the reasons to do this. And one of, the main reason of why this happens is because the powers maintain their power by controlling the unruly. Okay, I'll get into that later. And the last one is how. How this racism is established by the powers, carried out, and then accepted by the rest of society. Okay, so yeah, let me go into the who first. Who is the one that establishes this racism that occurs within society? So it is basically anybody in a position of power. So you can get democracy doing this, you can get, you know, liberal powers doing this, you can get nations that are highly capitalistic, right, that do it, right, capitalist nations. And anybody in power is able to implement this level of racism. And she argues that the reason they do this is for that powers or people in control do this because they are not actually about peace and stability. What they actually are about is maintaining their power, or the preservation of their power. And that's the reason why they establish this racism. Okay, right. So that answers the who question. So the next thing is how. Sorry, the next thing is why. Yeah, is the why, right? And so the why comes about because you need to manage the unruly. Essentially, the people that are unpredictable, unruly, unpredictable, are a threat to that power.
Don't see people who don't see reason, who you can't reason with.
Yep.
Probably not as educated, lower
Correct.
income group.
Yeah. So these are, you know, classified as the unruly. And you notice that, yeah, that's basically what happens, right? It's the people who are, you know, not in privileged positions, right? And so they are considered as the unruly. And so there's this need to control them, even if it's not a real threat, you know, it's a perceived threat. So, you know, the question comes then, how do these powers now go about controlling these unruly individuals, right? So she argues in a book that what they do is they make it seem like there is liberty and justice for all. They will claim that there's, you know, oh, we are fair to everybody, we treat everybody equal. But then if you look carefully, there are these little terms and conditions that apply, right? These little things that you don't see outright. So it can be, you know, individuals who are promised, the general population is promised, certain luxuries and benefits. But then for that particular race or that particular group of people, it doesn't exactly apply to them. So they don't get the same benefits as the majority. Right. So if you go back to America, right, and you look at how the forefathers, when they first started, right, they wrote the Declaration of Independence, right? Your Thomas Jefferson and your Ben Franklin, right? Benjamin Franklin. Right. When they wrote these things, it was supposed to be justice and equality for all. The motherfucking irony is that during the time that they wrote this, they all owned slaves. Right? Every one of them owned slaves. So they talk about justice and equality for everyone, but at the same time, they own slaves. So you see, there are already terms and conditions and exceptions to the rule or the claim that there is this benefit for everyone.
So the Constitution was all along being written for the whites. No.
In a way, yeah, the colonial powers are.
Right. Yeah. But I wonder if when all those things are penned down, they would have seen, the loss of power of the white people, of the ruling class in America. I wonder how that would have panned out.
I think at that time when they were writing it, right? Okay, of course we don't know their real intentions or not, whether that was the case. But I mean, you fucking own slaves, so I kind of can, I can't unsee that. It's there, it's right there, right? So I guess, if they wrote those things at that time, they wouldn't worry at all because those are slaves, right? You have them bound in chains.
Right. They're like, they're going to stand up against us. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, and then I'll just shoot them, right? I mean, that's the simple solution, right? You can easily kill a slave, no questions asked, right? If they disobey you, you can whip them, right? You can do atrocious things to them.
Yeah, no one's even going to bat an eyelid.
Exactly, right? So your worry then wouldn't be about that, right? Your worry wouldn't be about, are they going to overthrow us and all of that, right? But you still claim that it is land of the free for everyone. And the problem is, like, even if these people start seeing it, and question these things, it can easily be said, we didn't really realize that at that time. It can be written off as a mistake. So, I mean, you fast forward, and then, the blacks now finally fight for their power, right? You have people like Martin Luther King coming in, and, now they make amendments, right? And they make changes to this law. And then they simply write it off as, it was a mistake, right? We shouldn't have treated people like that back then. But that's the problem, right? It's already, put forth at the start, right? You've already intended this level of control, this level of racism, right? This isolation of this particular group, right? To control them at the start. So even if they come into power and they question it, you can later write it off as, it was my mistake, my bad. And then that's it. You kind of get away with it, right? Nobody has to answer for it. Right, okay, so that's that covers the who and the why, right? And I mean, I will elaborate on the why as well, why this is done. But we get the general idea, right? It's the powers that want to control this unruly, that want to ensure that they don't destabilize their power. That's
right. At this point, like I mean, when you were talking about what she was talking about in the book, right. I kind of applied this framework to how the global situation is since the end of the Second World War.
Right.
Because now you see a growing nationalism sentiment going across the world because of the trade war and whatnot. Economies are now being closed off. Trades are not being as open anymore. Yeah, it seems like that's a way of governments preserving their power over the people that they rule over, or at least the people who are bound by geographical boundaries.
Right.
So that's it's hard for them to quote unquote manage the unruly, who are people who are spreading their ideology from across the pond, from another land. Right. And for them to retain their power is to block them out.
Block them off.
And cut off communication, cut off any ties with them, in order to maintain their power over the people in their land. Correct. So it's not like there's that facade of taking care of the best interests of the people in the country, care. Right? Yeah. Right. But then you look at US, it's like once they cut off, like they can't consume anymore. They can't consume cheap goods coming from the other side of the world. So how is that better off for everyone? And by cutting their borders off, it also hurts the other party. I mean, when you study economics, it's like, trade is mutually beneficial to both parties who engage in them. And once you cut off, it just makes things worse because there's less specialization and things like that. So it just makes the whole economy less efficient. That's kind of what I took away, from that framework that she put out. Just to contextualize it into another aspect. But we digress. Yeah. This is about race.
No, but I think it's good that you brought that up because, okay, so we obviously all know who the powers are, the people in power, but this unruly group, right, it's hard to spot. Sure, it's easy now to see it, right, if it's black people in this case. So even in the case of immigrants, right, we get this happening. So I'll give you an example in France. This issue kind of died down, now with COVID rising up, and then now with this whole Black Lives Matter, right? That's the major thing that's going on right now. And people kind of like forgot about Islamophobia, but it was a big fucking problem 2 years back, last year, maybe.
In Germany.
Right? Yeah. So it was getting really, really bad. And I'm not saying that it's any better now. It's still bad, right? Definitely bad. And okay, so if you go back all the way to 2011, the French, this is an example of what she's talking about, right? When they placed a ban on the face covering or the burqas, like Muslims wearing the burqa. So they said that, okay, so this is where it gets, this is how they establish this racism, but they mask it. They mask it in political ideology. They mask it in ways that people can accept, that people can agree with. So their logic of banning, covering the face was that, it's a safety issue. It's a society that communicates mainly by facial, by expression, and so it hinders the progress of our own society. So they mask it under this little things without actually pushing out the real reason.
Concrete evidence.
Yeah, correct. And so, people are more likely to accept that. And okay, I'll explain this idea later on as well.
No wonder when the COVID cases start spiking, they don't want to wear masks.
Yeah.
Because it hinders their communication.
You know what's the irony, right? So now that law is in the fucking toilet bowl. Because now everybody needs to cover their face. So it's a goddamn irony, right? You establish a law that states that people, you may argue that this is special circumstance, a pandemic is going on around the world, but I don't know, it's an irony to me, right? That you would establish a law like that of people not being, not being allowed
because
to
now
cover their face.
It's not even a slight tweak. It's a completely 180-degree turn to you have to wear a mask. You actually have to fucking cover your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's insane. Okay, so we're still on the who and the why to control this unruly. Oh yeah, speaking of which, so now let's come back to the Black Lives Matter, right? Now we see it happening also. Last night, you wouldn't believe this, but me and Giswan, right? To all those listening out there, me and Guy sent the exact same TikTok video to our group chat at the exact same time, right? Do you remember that video,
yes.
dude?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
It looks like a scene from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's a fucking Humvee driving down a neighborhood, maybe in I don't know, it looks like fucking Connecticut. Yeah. And there were just police officers in heavy duty armor with riot shield, helmet, walking down the street, asking people to get back into their houses. It looks like a completely, done up suburbia neighborhood. It's not like in the ghettos or whatever, man. But
exactly.
Yeah, you have these cops just riding down the street, telling people to get into their house, shouting at them, and when they don't go back into their house, they started opening fire at them.
Yeah, and the dude's like, okay, like he's shouting at them, right? And then he turns to the person holding the camera and he's like, light them up. And then that's it. I was like, holy fuck, they're gonna open fire. And then okay lah, but then it's paintballs lah. But what the fuck, man? Like, yeah, it's still crazy.
Yeah.
This is an example, right, of how that the unruly, this group of people have now become aware that law is not administered fairly. And so, because people are speaking up about it, right, now the control comes in.
It's like that dog, man. It's like that chain up dog. You keep poking at it, you keep fucking kacauing it, taking a stick and like poking the nose, whatever. Once the chain breaks loose, it's gonna chase you down and bite you in the butt.
Yep. And so and now that it's happening, they need to establish this level of control. Okay, so let me get into the how, and then you can see the bigger picture here, right? So how does this happen, right? How does this go about? So there are 2 steps that she describes. The first thing is a distinguishing feature, right? So you pick out a distinguishing feature about this unruly, about these people, right? It can be, correct. So it can be down to, the color of your skin, religion, belief, socioeconomic status. And if you don't have one, right, if you don't have a distinguishing feature, you can even be given a distinguishing feature. So the example, okay, so the best example I can think of is your Jews in Nazi-occupied Germany back then when Hitler was in power. And when they were trying to get the people to distinguish the Jews, all the Jews had to wear this yellow badge. And so this was their distinguishing trait. Okay, so you can
look at the nose, man.
Fuck you.
You look at the nose, you know already what.
You're gonna piss off some whole bunch of people there. Okay.
They're Jews.
Yeah, but
okay. Fuck me, right?
Okay. Yeah. Fuck you, Guy. Okay, so we're going into step 1, right, which is this particular feature, right, that you point out. The second thing is they have to be vulnerable. So they have to have a vulnerability already in order to push them out, right? So, a minority.
Money, right?
Yes, correct. So if, for example, if you're poor, if you're a minority, if you're an immigrant to a new nation, if you have no political representation. So what you do is you lump them up together, you attach this distinguishing feature, and then now it becomes, they're all like that lah. Sheth in her book also reiterates that, this racialization and racial identity are 2 very different things, because racialization is assigned traits that have been pushed onto these people, that the majority of the population have been led to believe that this is what they are about. And it isn't naturally occurring racial identity stemming from their culture, their practices, their own beliefs, the racial identity that they have. And what we are getting instead are traits that are pushed, that are inaccurate, and most of the time obviously negative about a certain race. For example, when I gave you that example in France, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the powers, they establish that, we need clear identification. We need people to be able to see your face because it poses a security risk if they can't. We need communication to be effective. Otherwise, it hinders society and the progress of society. So now everybody looks at that and then, that's pretty logical.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Right? So it's this whole thing about Islam. You're not respecting the belief, right? You're not respecting the women who come from Islam. They have that choice, that freedom of choice, if they choose to wear the burqa. So you're stripping them of that choice, right? That freedom, their own standards of modesty even, right? What they deem to be, modest. And I think that's really fucked up. To strip somebody away of that. It's like, fuck, this girl want to wear a nice long dress, covering up stuff because she's a highly modest individual. You just tear off that dress, right? Make it into a mini skirt. and you're like,
because on the other side you have people who want to free the nipple.
That's true.
I mean, okay, that's a whole different thing altogether. That's
yeah, on a flip side to it, right? Yeah. Okay, but you see, yeah, individuals like that, they should be given that right. You want to free your tete? Go ahead, man. Up to you. Right? Show the nipple. It doesn't matter. But then, shouldn't you therefore respect the other side of it? People want to maintain that level of modesty and not strip them away for it. Ultimately, people spoke up against this. And, so many people pointed out that it was actually President Nicolas Sarkozy who was propagating this Islamophobia, who was using this law, essentially, that he's establishing for his own political gain, which is evidence to what Falguni is talking about in her book. You do this to a population to maintain that level of power, to maintain that level of control over them and your own power, protecting your own interests. So yeah, I see it comes full circle. You utilize a particular feature, a distinguishing trait, and you target a vulnerable population, and that's it. You get the majority of people to accept it. So if you go back to Black Lives Matter, a lot of the blacks in the US don't actually have these traits or don't actually identify with these traits as part of their own culture. But yet the majority of the population is led to believe that they are a certain way, that they're more violent, that they're more dangerous, that they're more likely to come from gangs, that they're more likely to commit crimes. So these are the things that, ultimately make the police so fearful of these individuals, and therefore they lash out in this fear also. So it's a broken system. It's a system that pushes them to, or pushes the majority of the people to lead them to believe that, this minority, the blacks, are a certain way when they're actually not. And that's where the danger comes in. So it comes back to this whole, technological use of race, right? To control people. And
so she's coming from a standpoint that, there are groups of people who have that understanding that, doing things like that, like singling out a certain race, a defining trait, that would help them retain power. But what about the flip side? Like, it's not even a conscious decision. Like, it's not a planned out sequence of events that was like, okay, you do A, B, and C, it will lead to these conditions being met, and therefore I can retain my power. What if
exactly
it is a very hidden thing? It's like almost an invisible evil, the evil that is within man, that is like written all over in religion, to actually want to hold the power. And all these things actually play out naturally in the course of these events happening, and that's what led up to all these atrocities being carried out, being manifested in society that's happening now lah.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
It's not a premeditated thing that a group of people or an individual thought of, but it's just
so I mean, she doesn't have the formula either, right? I mean, she didn't come up with this formula. It's through observation, and she also mentions in a book that this is the result of, right? It's not like they intended to do it this way.
Yeah. So it's after these things have happened, she went back and chronicled what happened, and it came out to all these things lah. So she is kind of mapping out how evil plays out in society.
Yeah, and how race is used as a technological tool, right? To essentially kind of like enslave the population, kind of to maintain power, right? And she identified all these particular features, this who, why, how,
right?
And in the how, you have those two specific methods, right? I mean, it comes down to classifying people by their unruliness. You mask that unruliness under a very neutral ideology, and then you hide the real intent of what you want to do. And
so do you think they even hide it from themselves? Because
could be,
from like they are not even aware, of what the repercussions of their actions are. That is why when you look at people who we deem evil, they don't think they're evil. It's not like Hitler walks around, thinking he is evil. He's just doing what he thinks is right.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
And that's why Trump walks around thinking he's doing what he knows best or what he thinks is best.
Exactly. And yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, you would have to be like true, hardcore, the devil evil, maybe even worse than the devil, to actually be able to rationalize all of this and to actually intend it in that step-by-step basis.
Yeah, that's like,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole new.
I don't want to fuck with that guy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not. The reason why I wanna share this thing is because I think her work is really important, because you kind of step away from the idea that race and racism is just biological, that is just social. You go into why things pan out the way they do. Why are black people murdered 21 times more likely to be shot by a cop? Why these atrocities happen to a particular group of people, and why they are painted in such bad light. And it's a horrible system that happens over time as a means to man's own greed, to maintain his own power. And okay, on a more important level, right, is for everyone listening to this to kind of understand how you can actually be part of this whole being racist, essentially how you perpetuate racism without even realizing it, right? So you may not hate someone, or you may you encounter somebody racist, right? And that person says stuff like, oh, I don't hate them because of their skin color, and then they add in that little additional, oh, I hate them because they all like that one, right? All of them lazy one, all of them are violent in nature, all of this group of people, them smelly one. And so you point out these traits that seem acceptable to the general populace, the majority, and it becomes like, oh yeah, I do notice that in some individuals, right? And then it's a okay thing to say. It becomes an okay thing to say. But if you outright say, I just don't like this guy because he's dark skinned, right? Then, oh my God, how dare you, right? Everybody realizes that. Yeah, but when you do it subtly like that, with traits that seem more logical or acceptable, then it becomes a problem. And that's why, yeah, I think that more people need to be aware about it. Really, everyone should go and pick up this book, Toward a Political Philosophy of Race. Yeah, it's really, it changed my way. It changed my ideology and the way I looked at race also, right? Because it was something that I dealt with also when I was younger. I think I mentioned that in the previous podcasts. But yeah, it's a very important thing to take note of. And more importantly, don't perpetuate it, right? Don't become part of that problem. There was this post that I recently shared. I don't know if you saw it. And I went into the comments to go and look at it. Do you see it's about this tree? Like it's a three racers playing soccer. Yeah, I think I shared it on Facebook.
Where?
Like quite some time back.
Okay,
never mind. I'll just tell you. So it's 3 captions, right? The first one reads like Malay playing football, Chinese playing football, and Indian playing football. So the first post is the Malay, and then it was like, hey, kita main passing. So we strategize to pass the ball. And then it comes to the Chinese, and then the Chinese say, hey, we must think of a strategy and a plan to attack and win this game. Then the last one, it comes to the Indian. Hey, they just break his leg, right? So when I saw the post, I was laughing, and then I was like, "Fuck, this is racist as shit," right? And
right.
But it's smart. It's smart. It's a. I mean, racist jokes are
in humor.
Yeah, correct, right? But there's still a level of racism to it, and I don't mind it because it's to me it's a healthy way to express, right? When you want to look at the fucked up things in society, the darker things in society,
it's not receptive. Nobody's receptive to messaging like that.
right? Yeah, and so you lace it in humor and jokes to point out a problem within society. So I just jumped into the comments to look at how many people actually found this racist, and it was damn low. Like nobody saw it as an issue with pointing out a group of people in that manner. And the few that argued on this post, right, they were kind of shut down, right, by the majority. Everybody was like, oh, is it in good fun and humor? So, I mean, if you look at Chef's work, right, this is it, right? That little subtle message, right? Oh, that Indians are more aggressive, more dangerous. And then it's laced there in society. It's the same logic, like our famous favorite quote, right? The Apu Nenek come catch you.
Yeah.
Right. It is the same thing, right? You label this group as, slightly more dangerous, slightly more aggressive. And then, yeah, right. So, yeah, but unfortunately, nobody saw that, and then people had a good laugh, I guess. It's still meant for humor, but
right.
Yeah, I was looking at it, to see whether anybody else could see something else.
But then, okay, once you take a step back and you look at people calling out the racism
right.
in the post, right? Then there's the argument of like, why these people are so fucking PC.
Why they want to be PC.
Yeah, why they're so PC. Why they want to be so politically correct.
I mean, it's not being politically correct. I am all for this joke, man. Right? Yeah, right. Okay. But the people who get offended by it, right, immediately,
right.
I understand where they are coming from because they see it, right? And nobody else sees it.
Of course.
So I'm all for PC culture staying out of comedy. It needs to, we need that comedic relief. We need comedy or comedians or the jesters of society to point out the problems that we are facing. But it shouldn't be put into everyday speech, like when you're parenting a child and then you want to threaten them or you want to scare them and you say, oh, the Apu Nenek come catch you, right? Yeah. It becomes a problem in that manner. And worst of all is that if you propagate these things, right, how does it then go to help a group of people who are already who are already ostracized, who are already a minority, who are already disadvantaged, right? How then does this help? If you propagate something like that and you don't see the problem with propagating something like that. So, as much as I want everybody to see, everybody to read this book, everybody to realize how racism exists within society, how these unruly the groups, how they are ostracized and how they are pushed out. But I mean, it's not going to happen, right? And unfortunately, I think it's going to take years and years and years. I mean, human civilization is so fucking old already, and yet we're still facing all these problems. It hasn't changed much. We're still racist to each other, right? And at least we're getting there. People like Falguni write about things like this that, help to open up the idea of looking at race in a different manner or racism in a different manner. It's not just about, being afraid of somebody's skin color, right?
Do you think that's important? I mean, looking at how things are being played out now with the protests and everything, it's I don't know how likely it would be to, convince people on the other side of the fence to change their mindset or values. Because in the setting of a protest, it's like the last thing you would do to convince the person on the other side, right?
Right.
It's like being met with force. You're changing somebody's value is like one of the hardest things you can do because it's so ingrained in you. And unless you're taking mind-bending drugs and somebody like influence you
right,
when you're
I think that it's not just about changing the mindset, throwing out facts like that and telling them, oh, you're racist because blah blah blah, right? It's not going to change their mindset. But I guess that's why the human condition or empathy or that feeling of connection is so nice,
right.
And it's what's going to heal this world. Like some of the videos out there, with all this going down, right, besides the riots and all that, there are a bunch of policemen that they they speak to the entire town and they tell everybody that, hey, we're not like that. This is not us. We're not going to kill anybody based on their skin color. We're not going to use aggressive force. That's not what we stand for. We're here to serve and protect. I saw a photo of them taking a knee, minute of silence. They go out to show their empathy and their respect for the community. I think that's what's going to help.
Mm-hmm.
As for whether or not we can solve this issue with racism, I think that one has to come down to the powers.
Right.
It has to come down to humans. That's why the best thing to have is a benevolent dictator, right? Just one individual who's just all about self-sacrifice, right? Who's all about nothing for himself, no power, no greed, none of that. I think that's the only, the ideal political system, right? And
a dictator nonetheless.
A dictator nonetheless, but a benevolent one, right? That's the best, right? But it's not going to happen because, human nature. It's human nature. We're going to be tempted by all these things, by greed, by money, by whatever. Right.
Power man, absolute power.
And power, man. Exactly. Which power is why corrupts. Which is why she put this.
And absolute power, absolutely corrupts.
That's from somewhere, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I quoted it from.
Yeah.
Let me.
But yeah, man.
I have to find it. I have to find it. You carry on first. I look for the quote.
Right. So yeah, we're not gonna stop that from happening. Right, to just go up to the powers that be and say, hey, can you relinquish some of your power and not be so power hungry, right? It's not going to happen. That change is not going to come about like that. But people realizing it and slowly, eventually, those that come into power, hopefully they embody some of these philosophies and some of these principles to, I don't know, just make society a better place. A place that everyone can live in and not have to worry about being killed by people in positions of power. I think that's the ideal.
Yeah, so the quote is from John Emerich Edward Delbert Acton, 1st Baron Acton, 13th Marquess of Gropoli. He is best known for the remark, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men.
Benevolent dictator, let's go.
I think we need to be ruled by sentient yogurt.
That will be
from that episode of what's that show again?
Sentient Gravity Falls, was it? Or was it Rick and Morty?
No. Love something and robots. Love.
Oh, yeah. Love, Sex and Robots.
Love, Sex and Robots, yeah.
Yeah, Love, Sex and Robots. Sentient Yogurt. Yeah. I need to go and watch that shit again. It's kind of like, they've toyed, a couple of shows have toyed with the concept of ruling, right? And people coming to power. And I love Rick and Morty's second episode where they did the one with the dogs. Did you watch that?
I have never seen an episode of Rick and Morty.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my god, dude. What the fuck? Can you please go and binge on that? Then we can do an entire podcast on the brilliance of Rick and Morty. Right. So anyway, there's this episode, right, where the dogs, Rick, the scientist, the genius scientist, builds this device that gives the dog the ability to think. And so they start thinking and they start analyzing traits of society and all of that. And you would look at, dogs as like man's best friend, right? The most innocent, wonderful creatures. And the dogs eventually get into power and they enslave humanity. That's pretty much the episode. And so, yeah, I think it's built upon that idea as well. Like anybody, no matter how good natured you think they are, even your cute little cuddly, wuddly doggy. And like the minute you throw them in power, that's it, man. Corrupts. Let's come back to Singapore, right? Racism here. I think it's important to talk about it, to point these things out if you are able to. And yeah, own self-check
oneself.
There's no
race problem here.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
That's why we have racial harmony day.
I hate like Singapore's idea of. I don't like the word they use. Like, I don't know why they use this word. They use this word called tolerance. We tolerate. I hate that fucking word. Like, how is that racial harmony? Like, if you just tolerate equals tahan, right? You can hate them to the core, but then you just tahan.
You just don't do anything.
Fuck? Exactly. I don't know why they use that word, really. Like, change it, man. Change the linguistics. Come on. Do something else. Fool me. Just blindside me some more, please. Yeah, like, I don't know lah. Yeah. But the word tolerance is just
like
dumb,
macam right? Lactose intolerant.
Yeah, man.
So lactose tolerance means like naturally your body just cannot take the dairy, right?
You mean
but you just
lactose intolerant?
No, lactose tolerant. Because the nature of the word tolerant means it's irritating you somehow, but you are just tolerating it. Yeah, which means correct. You love ice cream, you love milk so much. You're willing to take that fucking feeling in your rectum, like it's gonna blow
on a daily basis.
Yeah, because you love ice cream that much, man. Is that what lactose tolerance is?
I guess so. I guess that's what they mean. So then, okay lah. In that context, then I guess the word tolerance now has a different meaning lah. So if we tolerate other races, means we really love them lah, even though they fuck us over. Isn't that what that means?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Glad. Now my understanding of tolerance. Okay, I love the word tolerance now. Fucking love it. Yeah, but I think it's more about empathy and understanding. And when racist shit comes out, I think it's important to look at it before just shooting it down and going with that PC culture. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that whole PC culture thing also. It reminds me of there was that film in 2012, Sex, Violence and Family Values. Do you remember that?
Nope, because it was hardly shown in the theaters, right?
It was banned. Okay, it was banned at first, but then like very, very few cinemas released it again, but under heavy censorship. So they remove all the racial stuff and all that, which to me was the whole fucking point lah. Right? You want this to come out there. So I guess, that PC culture enslaves us even more. Right, because if you're that PC, right, and you're not even willing to look at a statement and why the statement came to be, then GG, right? You shut it off right there. The people who are utilizing
that there's a problem to begin with,
exactly, right?
Which is what I was trying to do. Like, when you talk about the racial things in Singapore, I'm like, have man, don't have.
Yeah, no, that one just downright ignorant. Just
hey, who are you calling ignorant, man?
Zero awareness. You can go join your friend. What's her name again? Samantha Katie James. Yeah, you can. Okay, let's not pick on her, poor thing.
Yeah, pick on me, can really.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was talking about that film because like there was this part in the film. I don't know if you remember. It's a film divided into three. It's an anthology, right? So 3 stories in that film. And one of it, the one that drew the most flack was this one called Porn Masala. So it's about this like super Abing character played by Adrian Pang. He's the director of this porno, and then he's trying to there's this Indian guy who's the porn star, right? He's supposed to have sex with this I think she's a stripper or something like that. And the guy is having a bit of trouble rising to the occasion, if you get what I mean. And so yeah, there's like this whole flurry of exchange between Adrian Pang and the porn star, right? And he drops one line in there where he's like, "Hey, you Indian, right? Don't you get drunk, go home, get drunk, and beat your wife?" Yeah, hardcore okay. Man, this film, right? Yeah, it's going there. And I was like, damn, like a Singapore film threw that out. That's good shit right there, right? Because it's a poignant message, right? Of how people tend to perceive, the violence and aggression that comes from Indians, right? And so like, I was like, wow, all right, good thing. And then ban. ASEAN Film Festival ban, and I'm like, what the fuck? Then how you even address these things, right? If it's not put out there in society like that for all to see, instead of behind closed doors, you saying it to your close friends or your family members,
right,
and perpetuating that level of racism, right? Why not put it out there? Why not address it, right?
But
Because
the flip
we do
side
have
of
a
the
problem.
coin is to curb this messaging lah. Because there are people who will take things at their face value. Like they hear Adrian Pang's character say, "Hey, you Indian, right? Don't you all get drunk and go home and beat your wives?" Then people hear that, they take that at face value, and that perpetuates the whole thing again. They don't
Right.
they don't think critically
Right.
on like, okay, this is meant to be a jab at the stereotypes that we are peddling.
Right.
And it becomes the message you want to curb in the first place.
Right. And so they take it at face value.
Yes,
yeah.
and so they cut it out of the film.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their rationale is behind heavily editing such a film, but that might be one of the reason. At least what I can think of is their rationale.
I mean, then again, it might upset the Indian population as well, like those who take it at face value rather than seeing it as, this director is trying to point out something.
Yeah, because can you imagine that
race.
film being played in the theaters and that scene comes up and there's a group of Indian people watching it. There's a group of like, I don't know which race, another race there, and that punchline comes out. Like the other race starts laughing fucking loudly,
right.
and the Indian group gets like fucking offended, and chaos ensues.
Right, that's true.
That's another set of thing that might happen. So I don't know. It's
difficult, right?
That's why it's a touchy subject.
Yeah, that's true. Damn, people need to stop acting, or getting too riled up.
Right.
Yeah, I guess now I'm agreeing with Samantha, Katie, James. They shouldn't riot. Right? They should stay calm. And what was it you said? And they should easier said than done, I guess. So put it out there, got problem. Don't put it out there, also got problem. Fuck.
That's why it's always been a problem.
Yeah, man. I guess
for so long.
I guess it's never going to be solved until everyone really rationalizes everything like that. But
it's like, okay, you don't do something, nothing's gonna change. You do something bad might happen after that also. You can never see past your choice, can you?
Yeah, man.
Hola, philosophical soul.
Yeah, we did get into quite a bit of philosophy today with race. Yeah, so today was heavy on philosophy, right? Especially because I brought in this book, right? And again, I wanna recommend you pick it up. Toward a Political Philosophy of Race. Yeah, just go ahead, try and understand it. There are a couple of YouTube videos, I'm sure, on this book as well.
Condensed version.
Yeah, condensed version. I remember watching one from this YouTube channel called, I think it's called Tube Philosophy or Philosophy Tube, something like that. And I remember I stumbled upon, because after reading the book, I was like so hyped up about finding out all these things when I was younger, and so I was binging on a ton of YouTube stuff and all that. And yeah, I remember there was a very nice condensed version from I believe it's that channel. So yeah, go and check it out. Right, might explain it better than I have. And just remember, you may be propagating this idea of racism. Become more aware of it. Start looking at society from a bigger picture. And if you do realize that, you do hate a certain race and that you do feel hatred or something for some reason, for some quality to a race, then, try to take a step back and understand why that has happened. Maybe this philosophy might help you. I don't know. I hope. Also, compassion and empathy go a long way, right? So yeah, it's a difficult time with the riots and all that going on. So maybe, if you're not in the situation, not thrown in, not suffering, not having to deal with this daily horrifying, level of institutionalized racism, systemic racism. Don't speak up too much about it, right? Otherwise, you're gonna backlash. If you don't like what we're saying, then please give us the backlash also. We don't really give a fuck, right, Guy?
Yes. I was just gonna say, I'll just fuck it and say whatever you want and then be as racist as shit. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your fucking mom. Yeah, I think this is the end of this show. I pray for all the people protesting out there. Be safe, and I hope something comes out of this crisis and this struggle.
Yep. And also fuck 2020, because holy shit this year, man. Yeah, but I think we've come to the end.
Yeah, so see you all next time, and hopefully we haven't died by then, or the planet hasn't imploded or exploded.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.